By the rivers of Babylon, yeah, we sat down and we cried when we remembered Jerusalem. We were sick, Lord, near to dying. Oh, by the rivers of...
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Blessed be the Most High, creator of heaven and earth. I thank the Most High God for life, food, clothing, and shelter, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We're here today once again for another Tanakh review. I'm here with one of my teachers and one of my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai, Yehudah, who will be going over reviewing the portion of Pinchas. Also, we will be going over the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, hoping and praying that everyone out there is having a great evening. As we are recording this earlier, but on an earlier date, but I do say to everyone out there, Shabbat Shalom, because this will be airing on the Shabbat day. So Shabbat Shalom to you all. May the creator of heaven and earth bless you all. And I pray that the Most High God will bless us all with understanding and to be enlightened with something new that maybe we might have not heard before, maybe we might have not understood before. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and also, very important, leave your comments. Even if you catch this on a later date, if you have any questions, then leave your comments, all right? So without any further ado, we move straight ahead, and I am going to pass it on to one of my teachers and my mentors, even Nasik, Zurishaddai, Yehudah. How are you, Nasik?
Great, Baruch Hashem. First of all, I'd like to give praise to the supreme intelligence of the universe, God of my forefathers, God of Abraham, God of Isaac, God of Jacob. Due respect to the platform I'm on, which is the D.C.B channel, platform, spiritual leader, Chief Prince Yariel Ben Saska, to the host Chief Zeal, to the princes, to the chiefs, to the Kohanim, Rabbinate, Maureen, brothers and sisters and visitors to the channel. I greet you all in the name of my forefathers, Shalom Aleichem, and the early Shabbat Shalom. I'll be highlighting some points in the last century of Pinchas, and also be trying to read through a lot of Kohelet, Ecclesiastes, the 10th chapter. It's an interesting portion, the portion of Pinchas, and we just left another interesting portion that was really difficult and has so many various interpretations, so many countless commentaries on the Sidra of Balak, which his name is the name of the Sidra, but yet we read more about the character of Bilam. And one of the things we read about a person that's actually was a counter to Moses, and he looked and we left off where he was staged he was hired to curse Israel. So some of the things you learn is that no matter how mighty an individual is, such as Balak, being a king, he has a spiritual side that he firmly believes in. It just happens that sometimes people believe it's based on real low-level, individuals in that sense. Now, Balaam was a phenomenon amongst outside of the nation of Israel, and which is one of the great things. We have our Kohen, a priest amongst Israel, and the first priest we had, and one of the greatest priests we had thus far to date out of the nation of Israel was Aharon. And we had one of the greatest prophets, out of the nation of Israel, which is his brother, Moses. And yet we went through a saga as we go through. We got an idea dealing with Jethro, as the priest of Midian, but he's one of the greatest priests that is spoken of and even made a contribution to the nation of Israel. And against the individual will of Balaam, he also made a great contribution to the nation of Israel, and he was an outsider. You know, he didn't care for Israel. And one of the things is that he preferred to injure and curse the people as opposed to support them. Now, we know we're not finished with the saga with the Midianites, because we noticed that when from where we left off at, that Balaam was sent for by the king of Balak, but they had the elders of Midian and the elders of Moab going to Balaam, but the elders of Midian did not stay. And so, you know, it brings up a lot of questions. Why would they tag along? Why would they do all that? And I know I'm familiar with quite a few rabbinic traditions concerning that, but I'm just saying, from the text itself, when we look into the text, it raises a lot of questions. As we go forward, the portion of Pinchas starts at the 25th chapter of the book of Numbers, at the 10th verse, and it concludes at the end of the 32nd chapter, the 32nd chapter. So it includes, so it concludes there. So it's a very long chapter. And some of the things I like to bring out as well, because I'm just going to highlight a few things. In the book of Numbers, it talk about the different offerings that's made on the different holy days. It focus on those offerings more. Whereas in Leviticus, the Vayikra itself, Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, it focus on the timing of those days, the appointed times. So when we go through the Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, we read about all the appointed holy days in the book of Leviticus. We read about different sacrifices in the book of Leviticus, but in the book of Pinchas, we read actually what sacrifices are done more so in detail on those particular days. So out of all the other sigils we'll cover throughout the year, the part of the portion of Pinchas is read more often than any other, because it is read, at the very minimum, at the very minimum 12 times, and sometimes 13 times within a year, because on Rosh Chodesh, we take a certain portion from the book of Pinchas, basically with the sacrifice for the new moon, and we read the sacrifice that's done there. So out of all the other portions that we read throughout the year, no other portion in the CHOKMAH, the first 5 books that we read, we don't read more than a certain section of Pinchas, because it deals with the new moon offerings as well, in which we have 12, and then sometimes we might have, a 13th or more. So we read it more than any other portion. Just a little section of it, not the whole portion of Pinchas, just a section about the offerings that's done. So as we go forward, I'd like to also point out that this particular portion has an unusual opening. And I'm going to start off and read an unusual opening. And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, had turned my wrath away from the children of Israel, and that he was very jealous for my sake among them, so that I consumed not the children of Israel in my jealousy. Now, we left off just a little before that. And I'm just going to go back a little bit, and then I'm going to come back to this here. In the 6th verse of the 25th chapter, it says, and behold, one of the children of Israel came and brought unto his brethren a Midianitish woman, in the sight of Moses and in the sight of all the congregation of the children of Israel, while they were weeping at the door of the tent of meeting. And when Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw it, he rose up from the midst of the congregation and took a spear in his hand and went after the man of Israel into the chamber and thrust both of them through, the man of Israel and the woman through her belly, so that the plague was stayed from the children of Israel. And those that died by the plague were 24,000. Now, I read that because now we go into a different opening of a sidra, and it ends with Pinchas slaying a man, and and this is not an ordinary individual, and to be a chief man, which we're going to find out, as we go through this this particular portion, that it was just a chief man, which was the head man of the tribe of Simeon. All right, he was the top man as we go through, and also it was no ordinary Midianite woman. She was a princess, and this individual. Before I even get to that, I'd like to just bring a backdrop that they already was, dealing with the women of the Midianites. Now you will say, well, okay, why Midianite women, and why specify Midianite women as opposed to the Moabite women? Were the Israelites being selected that only the Midianite women must look far more better than the Moabite women? And that's why, or maybe because they had a stigma against the origin of the Moabite people, and they might have stigma against that and figure this would be better. There's a lot of questions that could be raised because Balak had women, they had Moabite women, and we read about one famous Moabite woman, which is Ruth. And yet, it's the Midianite women that seem to be the major problem here. And it was Balak, the king of Moab, who had the problem with Israel. So did they women not look as voluptuous or appealing or enticing as the Midianite women? That's just something you could probably further discuss amongst your teachers. But when we look into this, normally when it says, and the Lord spoke to Moses saying, and usually say, speak to somebody. But he didn't say speak to anybody in this case when he deal with Pinchas. All he did was say, Pinchas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, turn up my wrath. So the creator could have been anybody else named Pinchas, maybe, perhaps, we don't know. But he's saying, this guy turned my wrath. Now, you know this is coming directly after this here slaying. Not due process. Now, the prince of Midian, and I would like to bring out some questions in here, of some food for thought, probably, more so, is it a prohibition for Israelites to marry a Midianite? The only prohibition we know for Israelites to marry anybody was those 7 nations across the Jordan that was going to conquer. Those 7 nations that was greater and mighty than us. We was forbidden to have marriages with those 7 nations. So now begs the question, the Midianite women is not a prohibition. And if they married, say at the strongest end, any one of those 7 nations, men marry one of them 7 nations, you give it a reason, because your sons' hearts be turned. But if they marry them, is that a death penalty? Is that worthy to be put to death? Because you marry somebody? And it's saying who you should not fall in love with again, almost like when I brought out earlier about a Kohen has certain restrictions about who they marry. So these are some of the things that people should, kind of, look into it and investigate more. Then when we look even further, is that no court case, no questions. I'm sure a lot of talk come by. And then did Pinchas even warn him? Did he have a discussion? The books, from what we read in the text, there was no discussion. Moses, who's the leader of the congregation, and Pinchas' father, Eleazar, who now become the high priest because Aaron's no longer around, and this guy, who is a chief man amongst that tribe, walks right by them, and nobody stopped them and said, "What are you doing? This ain't right." Now, you can have, they got a lot of different tales, in reference to it. I try to avoid the tales in that respect. When I talk on a platform like this, I try to, as much as possible, stay close to the text. But one of the things you look at is that Moses married a daughter of a priest. He didn't say he's going to marry her. He's going to fornicate or whatever. We don't know the intentions with the daughter of a prince man, top prince man, a chief man, and a Midian, because Cosby, as we find out, was a princess. So he married, Moses married Jethro's daughter, Jethro being a priest. And this guy, Simeonite, has a woman that is actually the daughter of the chief man of Midian. And what's interesting is that Simeon is older than Levi. And they used to be bosom partners. But Simeon's older than Levi. And then one of the things, when we look even closer into this here action, is that Simeon himself and Levi worked together to avenge what they consider an immoral act for their sister Dinah. They consider that an immoral act, which, as we look into the book, which is a rape situation. So they looked at it as a immoral act, and you could have the same fight with the same. Have a fight with the same individual, but for 2 different reasons. So Moses married for one reason. This guy, Zimri, got a woman for another reason. Same people, so similar scenarios. So here it is that Moses was not, he was a leader, a leader of the people, but he wasn't, he was a leader of people, but you look at this guy, he's actually the chief of his father's house. And this is in the 40th year. So he inherited that particular position. So this ain't the same leader of the tribe of Simeon that brought the offering up, when the tabernacle was dedicated. Them guys had already left out. So now when we look further into this thing, and God says that the Pinchas Act stopped the plague. So is vigilante justice all right? Did Pinchas discuss why he did it? And if he said, I did it because I think it was despicable, God had to step in. So, and God telling Moses this, but when we look at this here, what I find so strange is that God never told Moses, and I'm going to read it all the way out here. It said, in my jealousy, wherefore, in the 12th verse, wherefore say, behold, I give my covenant of peace, and I give my covenant of peace, and it shall be unto him and to his seed after him, the covenant of an everlasting priesthood, because he was jealous for his God, and made atonement for the children of Israel. All right. All right. And then it goes, and so he says, and so this is what he says, wherefore say. And this is a testimony he bringing out. Now the name of the man of Israel that was slain, who was and the man that was slain, who was slain with the Midianitish woman, was Zimri the son of Salu, a prince of a father's house among the Simeonites, and the name of the Midianitish woman that was slain was Cosbi, the daughter of Zur. He was head of the people of a father's house in Midian. And so, chief man. Now, what is also so unique in here is that when we look, he told Moses to say that, and he didn't tell people, he didn't ask people how they feel about the issue. And then a covenant of peace. All right, the covenant of peace. And if you look into the, those that might, study the Hebrew text, the word shalom, the YAH in it, some people say abab, all right, the letter Vav, which is a little straight line with a little solar flag to the left of it. All right, that letter there is in every single scroll, and and most Hebrew texts, that the word shalom, that YAH, that letter there has space between it, and but most of the comments said that wasn't a complete peace, because it's not a peace that people try to pursue to get full peace because the way it was done. And that's the only time you'll see that letter with that particular space in it, is when it's talking about the covenant for Pinchas. And you could say, well, okay, but an everlasting priesthood, most people will say, ain't he the descendant of Aaron? Ain't Eleazar his father? At this time, Eleazar is the chief, the head priest, the high priest. Then shouldn't he have that by right? Then there's always a question, that, his priesthood would have been questionable, as I spoke on in the past, because when his father was anointed priest, along with his grandfather, anointed priest, then it said every descendant of them shall be priests. If you were already born, do you count or not count? Because you had Ithamar also, who was a priest, his uncle. And all Ithamar descendants will be a priest. So now what we have here is that he's promised an everlasting priesthood. That means that the high priest line will come through him. He's promised that. But, and not only that, for his descendants. So it's a title making him eligible for a priest. A priest not supposed to shed blood. A priest is supposed to be bringing people closer to the Creator and not eliminating people off the earth. So this is great there in that sense, and that's for his descendants. But the covenant of peace was not for his descendants. The covenant of peace was for him alone, for Pinchas alone. And why I say for Pinchas alone is because Pinchas, you got to say, okay, Simeon been known to fight. They destroyed the city, them two together, you know. So, any repercussions? And then this guy here, Zimri, he got brothers. We don't know if he got sons, but he got brothers. Most likely he got sons as well. So, how they feel about that action without due process? And then also, did Pinchas know that killing him would stop the plague and stop God from destroying the people with his jealousy? That is not disclosed. Nobody know that would be the formula to stop whatever is killing the Israelites while they're mourning with a plague. It wasn't discussed. We don't read how we know that act will actually stop the plague. And then if you say, okay, this is the only time God come to a defense of an individual that had a capital punishment for another individual, and that never seemed to be a death penalty in that sense. So, and God came to for what the prince did, dealing with that Midianite woman. I mean, it's not a penalty, a death penalty per se, for messing with a Midianite woman, and yet this guy did that without a process, without consultation or anything. And if he stabbed him, he stabbed. You know, the way the description is stabbed them together in the act. Pretty much, it sounds like there was an act. So he's coming from the back. So this guy's unaware that he's being stabbed in his own private spot, not in the open, in his own private. He passed in the open, but he went to his own private spot. So isn't your home should be sacred? So there's a lot of issues here that people discuss over and over again in reference to the act. And then God exonerate him and reward him. And it saved people's lives. So which one you think, just a discussion, that the people settle for? That he got rewarded from God for doing that? Or that the lives of the nation was being saved? Other people from various tribes that's involved with that act. So the covenant of peace in that sense was only for Pinchas, because no retaliation. Also, do I second guess myself? Was it another way for me to address this issue? As it's possible. And why I had to be the one to execute it when Moses didn't do it. My granduncle didn't do it. My father didn't do it. They didn't tell anyone else to do it. Nobody seemed like it was an issue to be handled. And I didn't know it was going to stop the plague. I just was upset with God. So sometimes we got to ask, there's a lot of questions that's there in reference to it. And it's here that the Creator is the only time God ever exonerated an individual. Because when Moses slayed an Egyptian for beating up a brother, a Hebrew, and buried him in the sand, Moses had to flee and he was a fugitive. And we know that people was looking for him for revenge. And God said, all the people that sought your life, not just one, all the people that sought your life are dead. So this is a paramount thing. So we know the covenant of peace didn't go to his children. They only for his individual act, for himself alone. And we know that because we got priests that got killed throughout, going to captivity, getting slain. Even King Saul had Edomite, the Edomite slaying, priests, because a lot of Israelites wouldn't do it. So this guy had to, slay priests. And we know that priest was killed during the sieges and stuff like that in captivity. So we know that covenant of peace didn't allow, it wasn't for everybody or his descendants. It was only for him to live and be able to do what he needed to do. And also he's promised not just to be a priest now, but the high priest coming out of his line. All right, so, and that's going to finish going to this next little portion. Before I go into another spot, I'm going to skip over quite a bit. It said, and the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, harass the Midianites. So the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, harass the Midianites, smite them, for they harass you by their wiles, where they have beguiled you in the matter of Peor, and the matter of Cosby, the daughter of the prince of Midian, their sister, who was slain on the day of the plague, in the matter of Peor. So this is information, as we find later, that was given to Balak, how to get the Israelites to mess up, since I can't curse them. I don't have the power to curse them. People are blessed. As a matter of fact, I blessed them, phenomenal. I gave a great blessing to them. And that's something I didn't want to do. But I'm going to show you how to get them to hurt themselves. And the Creator, so when we read this here, we will see that Balak, his Moabite women, wasn't an issue, wasn't a problem. It was the Midianite women. Now you're going to say, was there Moabite women there or not? I don't know. But what we do know, that Balak was genuinely afraid of the nation of Israel. The Midianites were not afraid of the nation of Israel. The Midianites went out their way to even get the top elite women to cause the Israelites to mess up. We don't read anything about the Moabites in that area. So this the first time we read a remarkable thing where we are told to go out and attack a nation, harass them, and we wind up killing them, as opposed to we being attacked by a nation, defending ourselves. Amalek is the first one we had fight with. And that's because we read later on that they was attacking the stragglers and everything like that. So they came out their way to fight with us. We know that, Sihon all came out to fight with us. This is the first time that we read that we are told to go to somebody else's territory that we're not going to get claim of. We're not going to take the land. Go to their territory, meet with them, and create a battle and destroy certain people. First time in the book, which is a unique thing in that sense. And because of what it caused the people to do. Then we got the census here. And I'm just going to go past the census a little bit. I want to focus on another point. So I want to come up with let me see, did I have the numbers here? All right, yeah. So I'm going to go straight to the 51st verse of the 26th chapter. All right, the 51st verse of the 26th chapter, when he started to number the people again. All right, so numbering for most of the people is for war. Now they numbered certain part of the Levites, but that's to see how many Levites they have, which we come through later on. But mainly, right after this, talking about the number of the Levites, to see how many we have when it comes to service. And the service is going to be a lot different as it cross over the Jordan. So in the 51st verse of the 26th chapter, it says, "These are they that were number of the children of Israel, 600,000 and 1,730. All right. So they increased somewhat, all right, from the other count, which I believe was 600,353. So they increased quite a bit, 600,000 and 1,730. So 601,730. So, and they did make progress over the time that they marched out in the wilderness. All right. So now I just want to focus on one more little point before I go into the Kohelet. And I'd like to speak on when we're talking about the inheritance of the land and deal with the daughters of Zelophehad. All right. So in the 52nd verse of that same chapter, it says, "And the Lord spoke unto Moses, saying, Unto these the land shall be divided for an inheritance according to the number of names. To the more thou shalt give the more in inheritance, and to the fewer thou shalt give the less inheritance. To each one according to those that were numbered of it shall its inheritance be given. Notwithstanding, the land shall be divided by lot, according to the names of the tribes of their fathers, they shall inherit. According to the lot shall their inheritance be divided between the more and the fewer." Now, we have what's so common today, which is the lottery. Now, we know we already encounter about the scapegoats when it comes down to Yom Kippur. So it's something new to us when it comes down to the scapegoats on Yom Kippur, when we afflict our souls, that the priests have two goats that's identical, and he casts lots to see which one is the Lord for the Lord and which one is that he sacrificed, on the altar. So now I always say, well, the Creator should just go ahead and point out one. Why leave it to chance? Why do it like that? It's always, I always find that very, very, mysterious in that sense. And when it comes down to land, not only you're going to say, you're going to the most tribes, most people, which is logical, they need more land. And we got more people, you need more land in that tribe. Also, to say, if it's fewer, you don't need that much land. So that's all well and good as well. Now, locations. What make you think I want to be over here as opposed to over there? So now, and it says, according to the names of the tribes, the 12, like the 12 stones. Now, they have a tradition. They say they consult the breastplate with the 12 stones. That's the tradition. They say, I don't know. I'm just saying what they would say, that they use the breastplate and the stone will light up with certain letters and confirm which territory the tribe would get and how much. That's something for y'all to do, the research on. That's one area that's a commentary in reference to how it would be done. Another area, which we read straight from the Tanakh, is that they cast lots. Now, how do they cast lots? And then what is so mysterious about whoever picked first, you would think have the advantage. But when you're picking, and each one picking from the tribe, say if you wrote your name on the paper, this is what most people say. They put the name on a piece of on something, maybe a piece of wood or whatever the case is, and they put and the portion of land is already set up what part they will get. Now, mind you, for almost 30-something odd years ago, that's the last time 12 people went over there. 40-something years ago. So now you're talking 39 years ago, that we only have 12 people going to the land, and they're supposed to, go out through a whole land and come back with a report. And now to say where you need to go, where you went to go, where your tribe need to be, and the numbers of the tribes changed extensively between tribes over that period of time. So the leader from Simeon that went there, did he like this spot over there for his tribe or what? So the picking of the land was one of the mysterious things that I find in the Tanakh, because now each leader from a tribe will pick for the tribe, and you got Moses and Eleazar who are going to be over in charge with and have over the lottery, and they're going to help distribute this a land that no one other than Joshua and Caleb ever seen on the other side on foot, passed through on foot on that side. So that's one of the mysterious things I find in reference to that. And then when we look even further, is that, all right, my name is all right, Prince Zurishaddai, tribe of Yehudah. I write down my name, Prince Zurishaddai, because of the tribe of Yehudah. And then he got a thing for Yehudah. Now, a portion's already put up. Now, who decided how to write the portions down? That's a mysterious thing that's not given here. So now I put in my name, so my name is there. I'm supposed to take out 2 pieces. Let's say it was a pot. I'm just using a lottery, just a pot. And you have 24 pieces, 24 names, and 24 segments of the land. Well, let me just correct that, because we find out later on it was only like 9.5, 9.5. But basically, so even at 9.5, because we know later on in this particular as we come close to the next portion, that Reuben and Gad and half of the tribe of Nasik stayed on the other side. So that's, I don't want to go ahead too much into that area yet. But you say, okay, at this time, before the discussion, the plea from Gad for Reuben to stay on the other side, you got 12 names, 12 plots of land. You put your name in a bowl, along with everybody else's name in a bowl, and you mysteriously pull out your name, and you can't see, and you pull out a plot of land, and then you pull out your name, and then pull out Simeon's name. Say, oh, I got 2 names. I ain't got no land. So that's what's so mysterious, that you would put into a bowl your name, and then they already got the land already divided, and you pull out a plot, and how they know that plot gonna be big enough for you? You pick up a plot that's suitable for you. You pick up a plot according to your characteristics. So tradition gives a good explanation on it, so you might want to look into that. But it's still, no matter what the traditional view is, I don't like to share it on this particular point in this talk. But when you look at it, I don't like to farm. I like to fish. We know each tribe had their standard. And then you had a controlling tribe. All right. So the standard of Zebulon, would be like a ship. So they might want to be a haven by the sea. All right. So imagine they inland in the mountainous terrain. Other people might want to be more shepherds. And since they like being more shepherds, they don't need extra fertile land. They need grazing land. And then some people like to be farmers. So it had to fit to the character of those individuals. What part of the land they're supposed to get? It got to fit not only their characteristics, it got to fit the number of people out that tribe, and it got to be subdivided amongst the people in the tribe. So all this is a miraculous thing that's going on with the lottery. So for people that's so against lottery, we have certain things here. And now I know in some ideologies, religion, they think a lottery is gambling and stuff like that. Now, I always give the definition for gambling is that I'm sitting down with a deck of cards and we're playing a game. I got my money on the table. You have your money on the table. I don't want you to get my money, but I want your money. And you don't want me to get your money, but you want my money. So that's coveting already. I'm trying to deprive you of yours to enhance mine. So that gambling like that would be a forbidden situation. But in a situation where you got the same opportunity to win, and I got the same opportunity to win, and I'm not taking from you and you're not taking from me, we all could be winners, then that's not gambling in that sense. All right. So here it is that everybody gets a chance to be a winner. But I want to focus on this last little point before I go into the Proverbs with the daughters. All right. And it says that in the 27th chapter, then drew near the daughters of Zelophehad, the son of Kephar, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, of the families of Manasseh, the son of Joseph. And these are the names of his daughters, Machlah, Noah, Hoglah, and Michal, and Tirzah. And they stood before Moses and before Eleazar the priest, and before the princes and all the congregation to draw the tent of meeting, saying, Our father died in the wilderness, and he was not among the company of them that gathered themselves together against the Lord and the company of Korah, but he died in his own sins, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father be done away from among his family, because he had no sons? Give unto us a possession among the brethren of our father. So now, this is the first here. These daughters are named. And what happened, inheritance usually go to the male, they didn't go to the female. And that man of the tribe picking, the property. And it's 5 of them. And what's interesting is that when we look at certain areas, the 5, you could say, well, each one could take a different part and say, the first say, our father died in the wilderness. The second say, he was not of the faction of Korah. The third, he died in his own sin. The fourth, he had no sons. The fifth, why should our father's name be lost to his family? So all this stuff here, all that, it sounds like a cooperation, a unity amongst these females. We don't see too much unity amongst the men during this particular time, but the unity amongst these females here. And when we look at that, we say this is a novel thing. And it brought to Moses. Now, then we have judges of 10s, judges of, 50s, judges of hundreds, judges of thousands. So now, if we had judges already on matters like that, why it gets to Moses? So some viewpoints is they went to the local courts and they said, no, this is beyond me. I can't make the decision on that. And it went up to the next step and went up to the next step until finally it came to Moses, and Moses said, oh, I'm going to take this to God. Well, when you say my father didn't stand against you in the in the matter of Korah, then that's an issue. That's a serious issue now, because now you're trying to bribe me. You're saying I should feel sympathetic. And besides that, I'm not the one that's giving out the land. I'm in charge of making sure it's given out. So therefore, the creator must deal with the land and the property. So he brought it to God. And God said, they're speaking right. So here we have a law instituted in the book about how women should inherit. Now we would say, well, what happened to the Levitical marriage? What happened to if the men dwell together? Well, we read about that in Deuteronomy. So Moses evidently, might have spoke about it later, or they could have been speaking about it. But then what happened to the wife of this guy? Did she die? Because the women wasn't under the death penalty of dying in the wilderness. So couldn't another male, hook up with the wife and raise up a seed since he only had daughters? And then if the daughters brought this case to Moses, they are not no little toddlers. These are women that had to be at least, and they, close to their 30s, if not in 20s, close in their 30s, upper 30s, I would say. And the reason I would say upper 30s is because they say their father wasn't related to the operation or the rebellion with Korah. So if they're not a part of the Korah rebellion, that was 39 years ago. So if they say the father wasn't there 30-some years ago, so that means right then and there that these are some mature women here. All 5 of them is mature women. And obviously, the wife might not be no longer, either she's barren, or either passed on herself. So now you got all these different scenarios you can say, why bring this issue up now? Why is it so important to address this issue now? And one of the reasons, I would bring out is that, and this my view, is that because while we was wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, nobody had property. Everybody being fed for manna. So nobody's starving. Nobody have any property. No one's growing anything. Now, when you get ready to go in the land, where I'm going to live, how I'm going to settle, what property I have, who do I need to squat? At least Naomi, when she came back from Moab, she had a place to go. That was still a part of the house of her husband. So she still had a place to go. But now you got these 5 daughters here that we get ready to cross over. You parceling out the land, then how are we supposed to live? And the thing is, they didn't address that alone about monetary, because then we would think monetary, they were just saying, they following the dollars. But now they brought up, why should our father's name be wiped out? So now I'm not saying this only because it's natural that I should have a place to live, but I'm saying this is that my father had no sons. And all us agree our father had no sons. All us agree our father died, but he wasn't going against you. Whatever the case was. And our father itself, his name need to be perpetuated. Now that brings a whole nother spin. It's not about income alone. It's not about security alone, but yet it became an issue because now all those factors are involved, but they took the most laudable factor and not about property, but about a legacy. And that's what basically the land is supposed to be, because that's part of a legacy for us. Because we said the land that was promised to Abraham, that was passed down to Isaac, and was passed down to Yaakov, and was supposed to be passed on to his seed. That's a legacy. So those are some of the things that to speak about in reference to that. And there's a lot more, but for the sake of time, we know that they brought an issue, God entertained it, and that this is the first time women was able to inherit actually land property. Not that your father couldn't give you a gift, but land property. And they had to marry within the tribe, which we know later on, so they won't be swapped. Now, the women's, and also what's remarkable here is that normally you only go a few generations identifying the man lineage. We read about Pinchas, we read about, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the high priest. It stops. When we read about, the prince that did certain things, read a couple of names and that's it. Why 6 generations they speak about concerning this daughter and tied into Joseph? This is the only time you have female or individual period that I could think of, individual period, other than you reading the Chronicles, but that the actual writer Moses go back 6 generations on them just to talk about who they are the descendants of. And they tied it into Joseph. And Joseph wanted to be buried in the land. So the land was, and where we wanted to go back to Egypt, Joseph in Egypt wanted to be buried in the land and made people swear. So they had such a great, strong love for the land that they brought this case up to Moses, and Moses brought it to the Creator, and the Creator had made a law that was for all times, where women could inherit with certain stipulations. So it's more to be said on that and other stuff. But right now, I'm just going to go straight to the book of Kohelet, about 20 verses. But I ask everybody else to go over this and expound. Look at it more and discuss this issue with the teachers. The miracles or the wonders of the lottery and the issues that rise up with the lottery, at this time. And with these women bringing it up, bypass and going past all these other lower courts and get an audience where there's no women there for the audience, is men there, chief men. And they demanding, a possession, of their father. And they say it's not just about the money, it's about his name. So, and we don't know much of them. Now we know one guy say this was the guy that picked up sticks on the Shabbat. The book leaves him unknown, whoever picked up the sticks on the Shabbat. But one of the rabbis, Akiba, had made that statement that was this guy. And another rabbi admonished that statement that Rabbi Akiba made, because one, if the book don't disclose who the guy picked up, who was the name of the guy that picked up sticks on the Shabbat, then who are you to incriminate somebody that God didn't incriminate by name? And if it wasn't him that did it, then you incriminated an innocent individual. So sometimes we got to be slow to make judgments on a lot of issues. All right, so that's one lesson that we pick up. So we go in the book of the Kohelet. On the Jeremiah, I don't want to bring this up too. I'm not going to read it, but I just want to bring up the book of Jeremiah, was the Haftorah, and we just beginning the first 3 weeks of Haftorah, some admonishment. That means right then and there that the Haftorah may not necessarily agree with the actual Sidra, but it's about a situation, about the times we're approaching, because we know right after the fast of the 4th month, you had 3 weeks before the fast of Tisha B'Av, 3 Shabbats. And so for the 3 Shabbats, you got 3 Haftorahs, that's actually admonishing the children of Israel, because of our behavior and leading to our destruction. And after Tisha B'Av, which is on the 5th month, the next fast day that's come up in the 5th month, then the Shabbats after that, you got 7 Haftorahs of consolation till we get into the season. So I just want to bring that out there. So the book of Jeremiah, first chapter to the second verse, chapter, the 3rd verse. It's some good reading to talk about and ponder. So we go straight to the book of Kohelet.
We're in the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 10, starting from verse 1. It reads, "Dead flies make the ointment of the perfumer fetid and putrid, so doth a little folly."
I'll wait, Mr. Manana.
You can't hear me?
Yes, I hear you now.
All right, chapter 10, verse 1. "Dead flies make the ointment of the perfumer fetid and putrid, so doth a little folly outweigh wisdom and honor."
Okay, right there and there. That when people act a fool, that makes a bigger impression than wisdom around most circles. You know what I mean? And it's like dead flies itself. You know what I mean? When we talk about that, we know, especially in summertime, most other houses we could identify it. Sometimes you open up the door, and the fly come in, and you don't want to leave. And sometimes you have these little fly papers are hanging around here and stuff like that. And just the fly paper alone look hideous. All right. So the same thing is that you exercise some foolishness more so than the wisdom. If you're supposed to be known as a wise, intellectual person, and then all of a sudden you acting foolish, I mean, that makes a more heavier impression, because people are going to perceive you more about what you did stupid as opposed to the great things you did. And that's usually how people view it. They tend to hold the bad stuff in a lot stronger than the good that you do. But let's read the second verse.
Verse 2, it reads, "A wise man's understanding is at his right hand, but a fool's understanding at his left."
I hate to be saying this, but since Chief Fools is a left-handed guy, so but one of the things, most people, normality was right-handed. Most people, that's the strong side, and your weaker side was mostly the left-handed. And most times we read about left-handed people in the book, is always some negative for some reason, and usually even when you anoint the Kohen, he said, "Well, why you pick that right side? You didn't pick the left side," So it's something to that, But I'm saying enough said on that. Let's go 3.
Verse 3, "Yea, also when a fool walketh by the way, his understanding faileth him, and he saith to everyone that he is a fool."
All right, right in there, because how he demonstrate himself, what he say, what he do, people watching you. And people could tend to see you better than you can see yourself sometimes, because most of the times, the last time we seen ourselves on a daily basis is when we looked in the mirror and stepped out the door. That's the last look we had. Am I dressed right? If this proper? And it's just fitting right? Okay. That's the last time I really take a look at myself. And most people, that's the last time they take a look at themselves before they go out to meet and to mix with the world. So now what you last saw, you only could see so much. People looking at not only what you look like, but also what you exhibit, out there verbally, and your mannerism. Continue.
Verse 4, it reads, "If the spirit of the ruler rise up against thee, leave not thy space for gentleness."
Right.
allayeth great offenses.
Okay. So some people, in other words, it's telling you to respect authority. If somebody, you know, panning you, what we call it, coming down on you hard, and scolding you. It's like your parent. Your parent scolding you about what you did wrong, this and that, and other, and you started walking away and say, "Hey, you hear me talking?" You get upset. You hear me talking to you? Get back over here. Now you was already heated, but now it amped it up another because now, you in authority, and it disrespect your authority and try to move out your sound range, and put you out of distance. So the same thing if it's a ruler, I said, no, let me see if I could talk my way out of this or soothe them down, and that's only wisdom. So it's teaching you how to behave when you don't have no authority and the authority is addressing you in a rough manner. All right, continue.
Verse 5, it reads, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, like an error which proceedeth from a rule.
Keep going.
Folly is set on great heights, and the rich sit in low place.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth.
Okay. All right, that right then and there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, keep going. All right.
He that diggeth a pit shall fall into it, and whoso breaketh through a fence, a serpent shall bite him.
Okay, right then and there. All right, let's stop here for a minute. All right. So this is what Solomon said. Folly is set on great heights, and the rich sit in low places, in a low place. All right. So most people, we pay more for entertainment of a comedian, something to make us laugh, something to joke, a court jester. When a court jester is no good, man, then he on death row in ancient times, most society. So we'll pay more for entertainment, for folly, instead of for wisdom. And yet we actually paying more for the folly, not just because we like it, but also it could cost us more if we entertain it more and take and try to emulate it. And say, I have seen servants upon horses and princes walking as servants upon the earth. All right. That means right in there, a prince walking most of the times is something that they did wrong. They lost their esteem. They lost their esteem because of their foolery. And you can say, okay, he's a prince. Why come he ain't got this? Why he ain't doing that? Why he living like that? He lost your esteem because he don't apply himself. And this is what Solomon said. He has seen this. And they said, well, that's Prince Jones over there. But why he living like that? Why he looking like that? This is Prince Jones. Don't he got some relatives? Don't he got some hooks? What happened to his circles? And it goes on to say, he that diggeth a pit shall fall into it. And whosoever breaketh through a fence, a serpent shall bite him. So right then and there, that when you plan destruction of an individual, laying traps and snares, it's basically for you yourself. Because you're saying, I can't confront the individual. That's what you're saying. I can't confront him. I'm afraid. So then I'm going to try to use other means to destroy the individual, unbeknown to them. So you become more deceitful. I continue.
It reads, verse 9, whoso quarrieth stones shall be hurt therewith, and he that cleaveth wood is endangered thereby.
Keep going.
If the iron be blunt, and one do not whet the edge, then must we put to more strength. But wisdom is profitable to direct.
All right, right then and there. You got to have the right tool for the right job. That's all. I always have this saying, sometimes it's a joke I use, sometimes. And You know, when certain people be telling me certain things, and we be joking around, and I say, well, it don't really make sense to me. It really don't make sense to me. And then I say, I understand, said the blind man that took a wooden hammer and tried to saw. Everything's out of place. So, and that's my reply for some things that sound really bizarre and foolish. I say, oh, okay, I understand, said the blind man that took a wooden hammer and tried to saw. That means that it sounds foolish to me. But, but sometimes people that may not think about it say, what do you mean, a blind man? I say, yeah, and he took a wooden hammer. Everything is using in its not in its proper perspective, and that's what I'm saying. That's what's saying here. Continue.
Verse 11 reads, if the serpent bite before it is charmed, then the charmer have no advantage.
Okay. All right. Well, that's self-evidence there, because you're trying to control the serpent and he's knowing to bite.
He's not a very good charmer.
Yeah. I mean, so now you're on your way out. So, but you address the serpent. The serpent, and sometimes it says, nobody pity a charmer if you're bitten by a serpent. That's another thing you might find in Proverbs. All right, 12.
Verse 12 reads, the words of a wise man's mouth are gracious, but the lips of a fool will swallow up himself.
Okay, some people talk to themselves into problems, And what's funny is that sometimes when your child do something wrong that he knew he was doing wrong, and you told him not to do it wrong, and you say, tell me why you did that. Well, you see, and they start off with these long explanations. I was trying, and I was trying, but look, I need to tell you, and you be listening to them, and you say, wow, I said, they don't even know how to, come up with a story that might even seem feasible, and that's what this verse is bringing out, that the lips of fools swallow himself up. Now, I'm just using a child for example, but some people that actually believe they're telling you, a story that you're gonna buy, and you can look at it, and sometimes you might say, now that don't even make sense to you, but you telling me, we use those expressions. That don't even make sense to you, but you expect me to buy that. Continue.
Verse
14.
13, the beginning of the words of his mouth is foolishness, and the end of his talk is grievous madness.
Okay.
Keep going. A fool also multiplieth words, yet man knoweth not that what shall be, and that which shall be after him, who can tell him?
Okay. So in other words, people that talk too much, just talk too much, and we had an expression in the family used to say, you're just talking to hear yourself talk. They say, because you're not saying anything that's going to build anything up or making sense. So you're just talking to hear yourself talk. Because I'm trying to tell you, I don't want to hear that anymore. But let's go about the let's keep going. 15.
Verse 15, the labor of fools wearieth every one of them, for he knoweth not how to go to the city.
All right, keep going. Let's go into observation.
Woe
Right.
to thee, O land, when thy king is a boy, and thy princes feast in the morning. Happy art thou, O land, when thy king is a free man, and thy princes eat in due season, in strength and not in drunkenness.
Hold it right there. All right. Now, if you got a boy king, everybody taking advantage because you don't know, they older, they more astute, so they're gonna take advantage. So they're gonna say, I know what you like to do. You like to party. Be a child. Enjoy yourself. So they're gonna persuade him. They're gonna be eating up his food, doing all this kind of stuff. It's almost like I was looking at one of his Greek mythologies. I think it was Jason and Argonauts and stuff like that. And he was trying to make it back home, and people was trying to take over his, his household, his kingship, and everything like that. There, you know, but here it is that if you have a young king, a boy, all right, then we have a problem, because that means that the father didn't live long enough to have him grow up. We had that now. We had kings at 7 years old, 8 years old, 16-year-old. It's like, what do they know about life? What do they know about marriage? What do they know about family? And yet they are in authority. So now who is really in authority is the counselors that's around them. And that's why when you have a king that young, that's already, no matter who try to put him up there to try to do reformations, that's a problem for the nation. That's when we had a king that was 7 years old, they hid him inside the sanctuary, because to save his life. But that showed you that the land was in turmoil. And when he came out, he had to be escorted and protected to be king, just a figurehead. But how much wisdom he had? How many cases is he deciding? So that shows the weakness if your authority has less knowledge, less power than you. It's what you call a titular, just an authority in name only. Continue.
Verse 18 reads, by slothfulness the rafters sink in, and through idleness of the hands the house leaketh.
Okay. That means right then and there, you don't want to do no work in time. I put it off, I put it off. We say procrastination is a thief of time, because we constantly put off things. I'll do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow, do it tomorrow. The next thing you know, that problem, how did this happen? Well, that's the problem that grew up, that we haven't addressed when it was younger. Continue.
It reads, verse 19, a feast is made for laughter, and wine maketh glad the life, and money answereth all things.
All right. Now, it answers all things. All right. But is it, the end goal? So we read this in the book, and they say, well, okay, why do a person steal? You have a lack of money. You have a lack of this and lack of that. All right. All right. If a person do certain things, say, well, why do there be infidelity? All right. The lack of attention. I can't buy enough to keep you occupied. So another when you have money, also, how am I gonna keep people off me? Oh, I give them, I buy them this and buy them that, buying this and buying that. When you had certain celebrities like Hammer, Tyson, when the first go round, everybody was a meal ticket. They look at him as a meal ticket. So they're spending this money and exploiting them. And, he want, the guys to feel comfortable, but they're not earning their way. And they only was there for him pretty much when he was doing great. They only was there for him. So that's why they say, in prosperity, you can't, you can't know a friend, but in adversity, an enemy is not hidden. All right, the last verse.
Verse 20 reads, curse not the king, no, not in thy thought, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber, for a bird of the air shall carry the voice, and that which have wings shall tell the matter. Hallelujah.
All right, hallelujah. Now, this is important. Curse not the king, no, not in thy thought. Because whatever the mind summons, the flesh going to manifest it. You want to think about it too much. Keep cussing. One day you're going to spurt it out. And then it goes on and tell you, all right, and curse not the rich in thy bedchamber. All right. Because right then and there, somebody going to hear, so for a bird of the air should carry the voice. That means right then, people talking in sleep. And something that weigh heavily on it, rent free in your head, you're going to talk about it. And somebody going to hear it. And the thing about sleep is that the world don't exist for you when you sleep. That's like a slice of death. The world don't exist for you. But everybody else may not be asleep with you in here. And it says, and that which hath wing shall tell the matter. All right. Ain't talking about a bird, you know what I mean? I'm talking about that's how fast it get up above you. So I hope you got some of what I said. I know I went through that kind of fast because I spent a little time on the Sidra. But hopefully, you know, you go over that, get other viewpoints in reference to Kohelet. We only got about 2 more chapters in Kohelet, and highlight and also prepare for, you know, for a better Shabbat. And this particular time, normally, traditionally, they don't do a whole lot of exciting things until after Tisha B'Av because of the 3 weeks. And with the Jeremiah, and when we talk about the almond blossoms, usually takes about 3 weeks for it to come up. So that's why I'd say go back to the book of Jeremiah, read a little bit about that. When you talk about season pots spilling over, see about his ordination to prophecy, you know, and he's the first prophet that's ordained an international prophet out of Israel. We had a prophet from the outside world, and we had, you know, that worked with the outsiders. We had our prophets that work with us. Now we get our first international prophet coming up, which is Jeremiah. So with that, I say Shalom. Any mistakes been most.
Hallelujah, hallelujah. Torah about Nasik. Thank you, the Most High God, creator of heaven and earth, for your life and for the wisdom. And I pray that everyone out there have a great Shabbat sleep. I pray that the Most High God will bless each and every one of you. Shalom, shalom. Hallelujah.
Let's get knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the leaders. Yeah, knowledge, wisdom, understanding. We'll do our standing. All praises to the Most High, His laws and commandments. The CHOKMAH BINAH here to push it through your speakers. Judgment, truth, and love should be coming from the